back to my channel. If we've not met before, my name is Anya and I'm the creator of Soul Captain, where you are the master of your fate and captain of your soul, and you can be, do, have anything that you want. All right, so let's get into it. Today's topic is on the 6 things that I stopped doing in order to level up my fitness and health. So I'm going to tell you guys the 6 things, and for everything that I mention, I'm going to tell you what I started doing instead. All right, so let's get into it. So the first thing that I stopped doing was I stopped snacking at night. Now, this has been a vice of mine for a long time, where I would finish my meal and then I would just not feel hungry. I wouldn't feel satiated, so I'd go and have snacks, and I was also filling the time too. I was maybe bored or lonely, so there was a bit of emotional eating there. So I stopped doing that, and instead I started intermittent fasting. And if you guys are not familiar with intermittent fasting, I have a lot of content on my channel about that. It's a big passion of mine, and it's basically when you eat in a designated window, and this typical window is that you eat for 8 hours and then for 16 hours you're not eating. And so that's basically what I did. I started intermittent fasting, and at first it was hard because I was very much in the habit of snacking late at night and into the night. But what I would do is I would just have a tea instead, or one of the things I started doing, and it's a really, really good hack, is I would brush my teeth after every single meal, and that would signal to myself that I'm done eating for the day or for the night. So I highly recommend that if you want to implement intermittent fasting to kill the habit of eating at night, it works really, really well. And tea works great, so does brushing your teeth. Another thing that really works well is allowing yourself to actually have the snacks that you would normally binge on during the day, during your eating windows. So for instance, for me, I like crunchy, salty things like popcorn. So I just allow myself to have that during the eating window, so then when night rolls around, I'm like, well, I already had my popcorn, I don't need it. Okay, so that's tip 1. Tip 2 is I stopped guesstimating my progress, and I started to track my progress in a more defined, efficient way. So when I started my journey, I kind of just took pictures, but I didn't know my starting weight, and then I weighed myself later on, and it kind of wasn't really indicative of the changes. I know that my body had changed and I was changing, but I didn't know how. So what I did most recently is I bought a scale that actually tells you more information about your body composition, and it's a scale called Renpho. Obviously it's not sponsored, I don't have enough subscribers for that. But this Renpho scale will literally tell you your body fat percentage, your muscle mass, your skeletal mass. So there's way better indicators. And for instance, you can start tracking your body fat going down instead of your weight, because weight isn't always the best indicator. And I actually don't really agree with monitoring your weight for that reason. It's more telling to see what your body fat percentage is doing or what your muscle mass percentage is doing. So I highly recommend that you stop sort of thinking, oh, I think I did this, but actually get serious about tracking it. You can use that Renpho scale. You can also use a Fitbit. I recently got into Fitbit, and now I can really see how many steps I'm doing, which is really, really helpful. The third thing that I stopped doing was I stopped relying on high carb protein sources as my protein source in my meals. So let's say beans, chickpeas, except lentils. And I started to have more protein dense sources in my meals, such as different cuts of meat, fish, etc. And I know that that might not work for everyone, and I understand that because I used to be vegan. However, there is such a big difference when you actually do have your meal that is protein dense. You'll feel fuller longer, you'll feel more satiated. I've noticed a huge difference of when I have a chicken salad versus like a black bean salad. I tend to feel more satiated in a different way. With the black bean salad, maybe I'll feel full volume wise because there's a lot of veggies in it, but protein is just satiating and it helps you build your muscle mass and it just keeps you fuller for longer. So I highly recommend stopping having too many carbs in your meal and instead upping the protein. All right, so the fourth thing that I stopped doing and started doing was I stopped pushing myself to do all of these hard workouts all the time, HIIT training, intense. And I started to track my period and to cycle sync my workouts according to my period. Now, if you guys are not familiar with the term cycle syncing, it's basically when you track your period and you notice, or not even notice, but you mark certain different phases in your period. And essentially there are 4 different phases according to Dr. Mindy Pell's work. And there's power phase 1 at the start of your period that lasts 11 days. And typically you're coming out of your period, so you know you're taking it slow, but then you're gradually building and doing more intense work. Then there's the manifestation phase when you're ovulating, and that's when your testosterone is peaking, so you can really go hard on your resistance training. And then you have a power phase 2 where you can rev up and go hard and really push in the gym. And then there's your nurture phase, which lasts 13 days. It's basically the week before your period, where you want to watch your mood and respect when your energy levels are on the lower side and do things that are less intense and go for walks and do yoga. And this isn't dogma. There's some days where I'm going into my period and I'm like, I actually feel really good about doing a hard workout. So it's not dogma again, but it's really good to know kind of where you're at so that you're not stressing yourself out and pushing your body to do things that are counteracting where it's actually at hormonally. So that is something I highly recommend looking into, to stop overexerting yourself and stressing yourself out, and to start paying attention to where your body is at and respecting its energetic levels, and for maybe doing some yoga or going for a walk instead of pushing at the gym and trying so hard. Now, the 5th thing that I stopped doing was I stopped drinking and I started filling my time with more productive and constructive things. So if you guys have watched my videos, you know that I have a 2-part series on how I went from being a binge drinker to being now 1.5 years alcohol free. And I know that this is not for everyone, and it might be challenging depending on where you are at. But if you want to get serious about your health and really level up, the drinking is not helping you. So I highly recommend that you stop the drinking and you start replacing that negative input with positive inputs. And positive inputs for me have looked like my music, DJing, this channel, getting more workouts in, more family time. There's so many more constructive things you can do with your time that are going to improve your health and overall happiness so much more. So that's why that one's number 5. And last but not least, bonus number 6 is I stopped eating seed oils. And if you guys are not familiar with seed oils, they are in everything, and the problem with them is that they are sometimes labeled as these innocuous things like vegetable oil, when really they're terrible for you. And vegetable oil, seed oils are canola oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil, soy oil, sunflower oil. There's a whole bunch of them that I highly recommend you guys look into, because frankly I didn't know. I wasn't reading the labels as vigilantly as I should have been, and then someone put me on to seed oils and was like, hey, this is really bad, and it's literally in almost everything processed. It's wild. So I stopped eating seed oils and I started instead bringing in the good oils. I started having mayo with avocado oil and cooking with olive oil and all those good oils, because it really makes a difference when you remove those oils. All right, guys, that was 6 things that I stopped doing in order to level up and revive my fitness. And I hope that the things that I shared with you really helped you and that you implement something in here. And let me know in the comments below which one you like the most and which one you intend on implementing, or if you're currently implementing any of these right now. All right, guys, thank you so much. See you in the next video.